Chapter 481. Descent of the Heavenly Demon 4. It was a sight that was hard to believe even with one's own eyes. The eyes of the warriors who had been gripped by fear, overwhelmed by the countless evil spirits and monsters endlessly surging forward and filling the horizon, now flickered with black light. Whoosh! Black sword energy bursts flowed from thousands of weapons. Those light streams instantly covered the sky, becoming a black meteor shower stretching towards the evil spirits and monsters surging towards the 10,000 great mountains. Swoosh 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 swoosh. The meteor shower of sword energy bursts at incredible speed. The advancing evil spirits and monsters tried to change direction when they noticed this, but they couldn't due to their allies filling both sides and behind them. Roar. Growl. Finally, the black light streams crossing space struck the evil spirits and monsters directly. Boom 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 boom. With this, the sword energy bursts pierced through the front lines of evil spirits and monsters, causing green and purple blood to burst out in all directions. Thousands of sword energy bursts split into 8 branches, becoming tens of thousands. The sword energy bursts split the evil spirits and monsters with unstoppable momentum. Low-level fierce beasts and monsters were shattered to pieces, unable to withstand it, and even demon beast level and higher evil spirits and monsters were pushed back, unable to withstand the tremendous momentum of the demonic energy-infused sword energy bursts. At this amazing sight, cheers erupted. Wah! The morale of the warriors under the former Heaven and Earth Society couldn't help but soar at the world-changing, absolute majesty their lord displayed. These cheers soon led to another cry. A cry that emerged from someone's mouth spread throughout the 10,000 great mountains. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. The Heavenly Demon has descended, and all demons prostrate themselves in reverence. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. The warriors of the Righteous Alliance and Evil Alliance could only shrink back with hardened faces at this reverence for the Heavenly Demon echoing like a reverberation. Although the Righteous Alliance revered righteousness and chivalry, at this moment they felt a shudder towards the demonic. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. What on earth are we doing here? Amit Ba Buddha. The demonic that was only stirring has finally bloomed. Sate of the Hengshan sect spoke with a darkened face, her palms pressed together. At her words, Master of the Diansong sect asked, "What do you mean by that?" Sate. In a world divided only into white and black, right and wrong, the pure demonic intent, the demon, has awakened. In Buddhism, the pure evil called demon is something to be avoided even more than a deceitful mind. The same is true in Taoism. A third intent, the demonic, has been born in a world that was divided into right and wrong. The way of demons. The feared event had finally occurred. Descent of the Heavenly Demon. All demons bow down. The reverence towards the Lord of Demons echoing. It was binding together those who worshipped the demonic. Now they could only watch helplessly as the birth of the demonic, which the righteous and evil should have joined forces to prevent unconditionally, took place. The demonic is suppressing the inhuman beings, the demons. At this moment when demons are trying to annihilate humans, the righteous, evil and demonic were standing looking in the same direction. Swoosh 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 swoosh. Boom 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 boom. Wherever the black meteor shower touched, there was only destruction and death. The eyes of Danmok in Ho Mokgon's avatar and the head of the Danmok clan watching this grew cold. How is such divine power possible with a human body? The spatial perception ability to handle thousands of weapons simultaneously and the matchless capability like an inexhaustible spring, no, like a great sea. This was not a realm possible for a mere human body. Could it be that he's regained his original power? He is an avatar. The king of demons. If he had regained his original power, all this might be possible, but looking at him with the 3 eyes, he was still human. There's no core. The absence of a core that should be present in a demonic clan. It was decisive evidence that he hadn't regained his former power. Grip. Danmok Inho's clenched fist tightened. Then does this mean he has reached the highest realm possible for a human? The life and death realm reached within the boundary of life and death is not the end. If one can achieve harmony with the 5 elements of great nature, one can reach the natural realm, which can be said to be the end. If that happens, one can draw energy from great nature, so there is no limit to inner energy. Did he consume a spirit beast? But then he said to another avatar, "You take that kind of thing." What? That's not what's important. He is utterly arrogant. Perhaps because he was the king of demons, but he tries to break all existing things. Such a person wouldn't go back on his word. Having thought only of him for over 100 years and being destined enemies, he could understand this. Then does this matchless capability possess a power close to infinite that even rivals the energy of great nature? Tremble. Thuk. Thukik. Kuhahaha. Eventually Danmok In-ho burst into mad laughter. Truly inspires awe. You are undoubtedly a worthy archenemy to devote one's life to killing. Yes. If it were a fight that could be ended easily, it wouldn't be fun. This is just the beginning. And even your tremendous ultimate technique is not without weakness. Crack. At that moment, an anomaly occurred in the weapons emitting the sword energy bursts of the black meteor shower. The blades of the weapons began to break. Hiss. The fragments of the broken blades couldn't withstand the demonic energy and oxidized on the spot. The corner of Danmok In-ho's mouth curled up sinisterly. As expected, ordinary weapons cannot fully withstand his power. It would have been strange for ordinary weapons to withstand that sword energy burst that could crush and penetrate even evil spirits and monsters. Crack, 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 crack. Eventually, the weapons that couldn't withstand the demonic energy broke rapidly. In an instant, nearly half were broken and the other weapons were cracking and splitting, looking like they would all break soon. Yes. That's the limit of that ultimate technique. And now is the chance. Poof. Danmok In-ho flew his form towards Mok Jayongun. Concentrating all his power on thousands of swords, he can't turn his attention elsewhere right now. The Righteous Alliance and Evil Alliance might not aim for his back, but I'm different. I am an enemy trying to annihilate humanity. I desperately wish for your death. Though inferior to other bodies, this is enough for you now. Boom. Danmok In-ho extremely compressed his sword energy and concentrated it on his sword. Heaven's sword technique. Heaven defeating sword. Swoosh. His form rushing towards Mok Jayongun became one with the sword, and its tyrannical momentum seemed like it would cut through everything in existence. This was an ultimate technique created based on his method of concentrating all his power into a single point. It was only possible once with this body, but that didn't matter. With just this one chance he could kill him. Clang. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Danmok In-ho's 3 pupils shook. Mok Jayongun still hadn't even turned his head. Yet somehow, a formless sword that appeared in midair created black lines, not only shattering his heaven-defeating sword but also cutting off his limbs in an instant. To have this much strength left here? With avatars? Is it impossible to do anything? A true monster. A monster that can't be dealt with unless it's the main body. His body, with its limbs cut off, was about to fall to the ground, spewing fresh blood. However, grip. His body floated up due to profound inner energy. Then his floating body was drawn towards Mok Jayongun. Meanwhile, the remaining thousands of weapons unleashing the heavenly void bright light, 8 immortals sword competition broke. Crack, 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 crack. Mok Jayongun aimed his sword energy-imbued fingers at the third eye of Danmok In-ho, whose limbs had been cut off and who had flown right in front of him. How long do you intend to hide? Main body. Show yourself now. At Mok Jayongun's direct question, the corner of Danmok In-ho's mouth twitched. Seeing this, Mok Jayongun was about to unleash his sword energy towards Danmok In-ho's third eye as if he had lost interest. Then, bulge. The blood vessels in the third eye bulged and the voice changed. It was not by Yonghyun's will. How much do you think I estimated the capabilities of you, the Avatar, and humans in the plan I've been weaving for a long time? What? Through the Jiao Dragon Demon King's Human-Demon War and the First Great Calamity, we revised many strategies. Even the most insignificant and insect-like beings can't have their limits carelessly judged when cornered. Humanity will realize that the Human-Demon War and Great Calamity that occurred over hundreds of years were merely the beginning. Whoosh. As soon as those words ended, the front that had been obscured by the haze from the heavenly void bright light's aftermath gradually revealed itself. The corpses of numerous evil spirits and monsters were strewn about miserably. Seemed to be nearly tens of thousands. At this sight, the faces of the former Heaven and Earth Society warriors under Mok Jaeongun, as well as the Righteous Alliance and Evil Alliance warriors, were about to brighten, but it didn't last long. Rumble. Once again the 10,000 great mountains began to shake with vibrations. Shadows filling the horizon began to appear as the hazy smoke cleared. The faces of the warriors looking at this hardened. This can't be. How many are there? Countless evil spirits and monsters, too many to count, were approaching, trampling on the corpses of the dead monsters as they surged forward from beyond the horizon. Mok Jaeongun's eyes narrowed as he looked at this. Suddenly Mok Jaeongun recalled the map of the Central Plains that Jin Yiren had drawn on the ground. A massive formation encompassing the entire Central Plains. Are all the evil spirits and monsters in the Central Plains gathering here? During the first great calamity, evil spirits and monsters throughout the Central Plains went berserk and tried to harm humans. And in the second great calamity, the evil spirits and monsters were controlled by him. Not just going berserk but with a clear purpose. It might be difficult for ordinary humans, but martial artists who have cultivated martial arts have the power to confront evil spirits and monsters. They were trying to slaughter all the martial artists gathered in the 10,000 Great Mountains. I need to kill the main body. It's certainly him controlling this technique. If he's not killed, there would be no choice but to continue an endless battle with the evil spirits and monsters. Swish. Mok Jaeongun reached out towards his third eye. Now that most of the avatars have been destroyed, if he could trace the will, he should be able to find the location of the main body. Just as his hand was about to touch. Flinch. Suddenly Mok Jaeongun's hand stopped. Whoosh. Simultaneously, a tremendous wind pressure spread throughout the 10,000 Great Mountains as if a storm had hit. The wind was so strong it was difficult to maintain balance. Ugh. What kind of wind is this? The sudden gust of wind was not a simple natural phenomenon. At some point they could tell. A huge shadow was being cast over the front of the 10,000 Great Mountains. And as the shadow gradually shrank, the incoming wind became as cold as if accompanied by a north wind, even causing frost to form all around. Crack, 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 crack. The cold wind pressing down on everything eventually brought despair. Flap, flap, flap. Whoosh. A huge, pure white being accompanied by a storm that seemed capable of freezing everything with a single wing beat. It was a great ping larger than one of the peaks of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Chapter 482. The Six Demons 1. Whoosh. A huge, pure white being accompanied by a storm that seemed capable of freezing everything with a single wing beat. It was a great ping larger than one of the peaks of the 10,000 Great Mountains. The appearance of a being with incomparable vastness to other evil spirits and monsters. This brought another silence of despair. Even with the tremendous majesty of the heavenly demon, they had already been gripped by anxiety due to the countless monsters. Whoosh. Dan Mok In-ho burst into laughter and shouted while looking at the great ping that had descended upon the world, flashing its eerily red eyes. Ha! The white great ping demon king, one of the 6 demons who turned the North Sea into a land of cold ice and death, has descended. Realize your own weakness and kneel. Despite this arrogant cry, not a single person refuted. This was because after the appearance of this huge being, the Great Ping, the white Great Ping Demon King, not only had the air turned cold, but the demonic energy that seemed about to overturn everything in all directions was pressing down on them, and people were bleeding here and there, unable to withstand the pressure. Drip. What is this? Nosebleed. Pale blood is flowing from the eyes too. Those with weak inner energy levels were already fully affected. Of course, it wasn't different for the masters either. They too were experiencing their inner energy boiling due to the pressure of the demonic energy, like a great sea covering all directions. This energy is unbelievable. The energy emitted by that huge great ping is suffocating. Amit Ba Buddha. This is a calamity. This was no longer a battle between the righteous and evil factions. It was a human-demon war, a great calamity that put the existence of the martial world at stake. A war is something that should be preventable from the start, but can this really be stopped by human power? The 6 demons. Mok Jaeongun's eyes sharpened. The 6 demons. These beings, called the 6 kings of evil spirits and monsters, were infinitely close to divine beasts. Among these beings who were just about to transcend the laws of nature, Mok Jaeongun had met 2. The assassin king of the sea Gu Huan Qionggu in the secret vault of the Corpse Blood Valley, and the hundred-faced king Golden Nine-Tailed Fox in the imperial palace. They were all tremendous beings that the Mok Jiangun of that time couldn't even touch a hair of. And these beings hadn't even exerted their proper power. The assassin king of the sea was in a weakened state due to being sealed, and the hundred-faced king was in human form and didn't exert proper power, yet both overwhelmed Mok Jiangun. But now for the first time he was facing one of the 6 demons in its complete form. Whoosh! Tremendous demonic energy that made the skin tingle. Cold energy that turned the surrounding area and the 10,000 great mountains into winter in an instant with just a wing beat. The classic of mountains and seas states that a being that has reached the extreme of spirit beast has touched the edge of natural law and is no different from a natural disaster. The white great ping demon king before them now was precisely such a being. It possessed overwhelming power capable of instantly devastating an entire region alone. At Mok Jiangun's now serious gaze, Dan Mok In-ho Mok Gon's avatar sneered and said, "Do you realize it now, Incarnation? That your fate is no different from the humans gathered here, like a candle in the wind." Stab. Before Dan Mok In-ho could finish speaking, Mok Jiangun's finger pierced into the eyeball on his forehead. Kook. As the third eye was grabbed, Dan Mok In-ho convulsed in pain. Mok Jiangun thought it was better to locate the main body first rather than be swayed by the situation he had created. Mok Jiangun tried to grasp the main body's will through the third eye. If there were no more avatars, it would be difficult to deceive any further. The location of the main body is. Could it be? Not far away. Very close. Then his will echoed. There's no need to search. I too am here. His will was felt from the midst of the countless evil spirits and monsters, passing through them. Certainly there were no more avatars. Flash. Throb. At that moment, along with a strong headache like lightning striking, the will tried to disperse. What on earth is this phenomenon? Unlike before, now that the level of will had increased, he was confident he could find it even if the other tried to resist. But something was blocking it. As he tried to hold on to it to not lose the other's will. Crack. The third eyeball he was holding burst. What? Mok Jiangun was puzzled. Having become one with the will of the Demon King and attained a complete personality, he prided himself on surpassing that level even if Mok Gon had lived for a long time. But in the middle, something unknown that surpassed the level of the main body intervened. And that something, though only for an instant, felt very familiar. Mok Jiangun glared with sharpened eyes at the white great ping demon king and the countless evil spirits and monsters behind it. The main body was there. Do I have to cut through them in the end? Shing. Mok Jiangun then drew the demonic sword Evil Commandment Sword from its scabbard. The moment he drew the sword, the attention of everyone who had been shrinking from the great calamity unfolding before their eyes turned to him. It was just drawing a sword, but the moment he did so, sharp sword energy surged in all directions, and the cold energy rushing towards the 10,000 great mountains stopped in an instant. The leaders of each faction couldn't help but marvel at this sight. He cut through the great Peng's energy, pressing down on the surroundings with sword energy. Has that person truly reached the state of being the sword itself? It was the true realm of unity between sword and self. Being able to turn even the surrounding energy into sword energy meant that everything was a sword. Therefore, the leaders of each sect had to acknowledge that he was likely the only one here who could face this being that was no different from a natural disaster. But, shudder. At that moment, everyone at the front stepped back in bewilderment. This was because they saw the white great ping demon king raising the corner of its mouth eerily the moment Mok Jiangun drew his sword. Although it was an evil spirit and monster, and its expression should have been hard to read, it was clearly smiling, and an incomprehensibly chilling malice could be felt. It was hard to call it fighting spirit, rather it seemed closer to interest. It was at that very moment. Crack. The white great ping demon king spread its dazzlingly white wings wide. Everyone gasped and had their attentions stolen by the wings that simultaneously held beauty and ominousness. Then as the white great ping demon king flapped its huge widely spread wings forward. Whoosh. With just a few wing beats, a blizzard rushed forward with wind pressure. However, this blizzard did not surge towards the 10,000 great mountains. Rather, the cold energy of the blizzard concentrated right in front of where the wings were flapping, creating a huge sphere with a violently swirling interior. This is impossible. The pupils of Ho Taegang, the king of destruction, on the highest peak at the very front, trembled. The energy contained in that huge sphere was truly earth-shattering, and even more shocking was that it contained a blizzard and storm. Can this huge Great Ping even condense natural phenomena? Roar. The white Great Ping Demon King raised its beak upwards and roared. With this, the sphere of storm and blizzard that had taken complete form through wing beats then surged towards the 10,000 great mountains, splitting the earth. Boom 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 boom. The eyes of all those watching this scene became dazed. How on earth could one avoid that? It was literally no different from a natural disaster. It was at that very moment. Swish. Mok Jun took a stance of striking downwards while holding the demonic sword Evil Commandment sword upside down. At that moment, something happened that made everyone's eyes widen. Boom. Teach that is? A sword. An utterly transparent, huge formless sword nearly 30 jang long appeared in the air directly opposite the 10,000 great mountains and pierced into the earth. Boom. Rumble. Touch the ground. With a tremendous roar, soil and sand fragments spurted like erupting lava, and along with this, the mountain peaks at the entrance of the 10,000 great mountains shook greatly as if an earthquake had struck. Simultaneously, the huge sphere of storm and blizzard rushing in collided with the formless sword that had pierced the ground floor, split in half, and the cold energy concentrated inside exploded. Boom, swoosh 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 swoosh. The explosion of cold energy created multiple rainbow-like layers, freezing even the air in the void. And the aftermath of the explosion that had split in two then collided with both sides of the mountain peaks where the war was taking place, collapsing parts of the peaks and freezing their surroundings. Rumble boom 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 boom. Crack 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 crack. Soil and ice chunks collapsing like an avalanche. Everyone couldn't close their mouths, their faces hardened at this sight. It happened before their eyes, but it was hard to believe. As if immortals from the fairy realm were engaging in battle, a single exchange of attack and defense was collapsing mountains and even changing natural phenomena. This had already surpassed the realm of what they could handle. Roar. Just then the white Great Ping Demon King let out a roar. Its red eyes drew a crescent moon so eerily, but it was clearly a smile. It seemed to be enjoying this situation. It was a fighting spirit towards Mok Jiongun who had blocked its almighty power. Should we consider this fortunate? The warriors under Mok Jiongun were naturally full of trust in their lord, but the warriors of the Righteous Alliance and Evil Alliance were feeling contradictory and strange emotions. It was a sense of relief that such a monster capable of facing a being like a natural disaster existed among humans, regardless of righteous or evil factions, and a contradictory fear. If this great calamity-like situation hadn't occurred, how would the war have concluded? They didn't even want to imagine. However, the former feeling was stronger now. Mok Jiongun was the only counterforce against that monster akin to a natural disaster. Therefore, although they couldn't voice it, from some point they couldn't help but root for Mok Jiongun. Poof. At that moment, Mok Jiongun's form split the air like lightning. The heavenly demon has moved. Is he really going to face it head-on? Everyone couldn't help but feel tense and couldn't take their eyes off the front. Whether knowing or not knowing their feelings, Mok Jiongun's gaze was focused solely on finding the white Great Ping Demon King's weakness. I need to hurry. Mok Jiongun thought it was meaningless to exchange attacks with it from afar. It was clear that if he didn't deal with it quickly, greater damage would occur. However, Mok Jiongun, who was flying his form, had to stop midway. Flinch. Mok Jiongun, who had turned his form, then sensed something and swung Evil Commandment sword in that direction. Then another huge formless sword appeared and extended upwards. Whoosh. Whoosh. Simultaneously, a huge pillar of fire with intense heat extended upwards and then collided with the formless sword, splitting. After splitting the pillar of fire, the ground turned black from the heat, and then it collided with the white Great Ping Demon King's cold energy. Hiss. Hazy steam shot up into the sky, then obscured the sun and darkened the earth. Then heavy rain poured down from the thick dark clouds like a downpour. Swoosh. It was a rain so heavy it was difficult to open one's eyes. Everyone couldn't help but stick out their tongues at the disasters occurring with each collision. Then the earth began to rumble loudly. Thud. 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 A huge shadow was seen from the direction where the pillar of fire had flown in. It had a gigantic body nearly 100 jang tall, and despite the rain, it had a golden mane fluttering, a tiger-like head, and a tail that seemed to be woven with hundreds of blades. Seeing this, Mok Jaeongun could immediately tell what this being was. The lion-grasping king. Another of the 6 demons had revealed itself. As another king of evil spirits and monsters, known to be difficult to gather in one place, descended, the advancing evil spirits and monsters bowed their heads as if showing reverence. As expected. He had assumed the worst since the White Great Ping Demon King, one of the 6 demons, had descended. But that wasn't the end. Boom. Rumble. Boom. Rumble. This can't be. The eyes of everyone watching the front widened as if about to tear. From the northwest direction, a shadow even more gigantic than a mountain peak was walking towards this place. It was so huge and heavy that with each step earthquakes occurred, shaking the mountain peaks, and some even collapsed, causing landslides. Rumble. However, these avalanche-like phenomena were already of no concern to anyone. What on earth is that? Is it a devil risen from hell? 2 sharp horns stood out as if recalling a great devil risen from the Avicii hell, known as the deepest of the 8 hot hells. Steam flowing from its flaring nostrils obscured its face like fog. Boom. As it took one step, flames erupted from the splitting ground. Geothermal heat was rising, unable to withstand. This huge evil spirit and monster with 2 horns, which appeared last, was already overwhelming the 2 6 demons that had appeared earlier with just its presence. Grip. Mok Jaeongun's hand holding the demonic sword Evil Commandment sword tightened. After learning about the 6 demons, there was something he had read in an old book in the Primal Killing Pavilion. Long ago there was a huge ox-shaped evil spirit and monster born from tens of thousands of years of earth energy twisting, and its power shook heaven and earth, so numerous immortals sealed that being through great sacrifice. The immortals called this evil spirit and monster the Great Strength King because it possessed the highest power that was difficult to break, but the author of the old book called it this. The Great Sage Who Levels the Heavens, the Ox Demon King. Chapter 483. The 6 Demons 2. Great Sage Who Levels the Heavens, Ox Demon King. That was the being said to overwhelm all 6 demons with strength alone. It was clearly visible to Mok Jaeongun's eyes, which had opened their pupil power. The Ox Demon King's vast demonic energy, beyond imagination, enveloped the entire visible area in red light. Although the other 2 demons also possessed formidable power that was difficult to approach, the Ox Demon King surpassed even them. With each step the Ox Demon King took, geothermal heat rose and flames erupted. It was truly a moving inferno. Mok Jaeongun's hand gripped the blade of the demonic sword Evil Commandment sword tightly. 10,000 great mountains was as silent as everyone thought. Countless evil spirits and 3 disaster-level spirit beasts capable of destroying an entire country. In this situation it would be strange not to feel despair. We cannot face them. We must retreat. Gu Qiuljia, the leader of the Huashan sect, spoke with a voice filled with fear. He had already judged that the aura emanating from those 3 giant monsters was beyond human capability. It seemed like they would be crushed without a trace with just a wave of the hand from that horned devil-like monster that appeared last. But where can we retreat to from here? If we leave those things be. Hong Won-suk, the leader of the Beggars sect, imagined the horrific consequences that would unfold. If those creatures ran amok, the Central Plains would truly face destruction. This was already a natural disaster. Who could stop those things that even they, the martial artists, couldn't handle? Do you think we can do anything by fighting? Gu Qiuljia, the leader of the Huashan sect, had already lost all will to fight. However, no one could blame him. None of those present were thinking of fighting those monsters anymore. Everyone just wanted to run away right now. Of course, not everyone felt that way. Even in despair, some were conflicted. One of them was Ma Qiuqian. If even the righteous martial artists who uphold justice and chivalry turn their backs and flee from them, who will stop those things? Peruru. Ma Qiuqian looked at his trembling legs. He too was afraid of those overwhelmingly monstrous beings. Even without comparing their powers, if they were to fight, a miserable annihilation was certain. However, if the righteous martial artists who sought to uphold chivalry couldn't overcome their fear and ran away, wouldn't that truly be the most shameful moment? Ma Qiuqian bit his own hand. It hurt because he bit hard enough to draw blood. But his mind cleared, and the trembling subsided more than before. Ma Qiuqian stood up and drew his sword with eyes full of determination. Wangbo Song, the head of the Wangbo clan who had been dazed with fear, looked at him curiously. What are you trying to do, Junior? I'm going to fight. What? Fight those things. As he looked bewildered, Ma Qiuqian wrapped his right hand holding the sword with cloth. He was expressing his will to never let go of the sword even if he died. Everyone around him thought it was reckless. However, Ma Qiuqian didn't care about this. I thought I was unlucky. I dreamed of being a righteous warrior, but I was held hostage by the Heaven and Earth Society and struggled to survive. I resented the heavens because everything was beyond my control. What on earth are you trying to say? Quack. Ma Qiuqian firmly secured the cloth and continued speaking. But I don't think that's the case. I was foolish. Justice doesn't come from belonging somewhere, and chivalry isn't determined by circumstances. Even if it becomes a miserable death, even if no one acknowledges its value, if I can have an upright heart and the courage to not back down in the face of fear, that is chivalry and justice. At these words from Ma Qiuqian, the eyes of the leaders and warriors of the various righteous sects wavered. As the alliance was formed and they became accustomed to collective power and inertia, they had forgotten why they had walked the path of righteousness and what they had aspired to. Dobiajibiog. Ma Qiuqian's back trembled as he walked forward. He was afraid. However, he was gathering courage without succumbing to that fear. Seeing him like this, Quack. Hong Won-suk, the leader of the beggars' sect, bit his lip tightly and then wrapped cloth around his hand holding the beggar's staff as he walked to his side. As the one who had doubted him to the end stood beside him, Ma Qiuqian looked at him curiously. Then the beggar's sect leader Hong Won-suk spoke as he tied the cloth. Junior warrior is right. What makes someone a warrior of justice? It's one who can stand up for the powerless people and everyone else. I'm ashamed, but I agree. At that moment, Wangbo Song, the head of the Wangbo clan, also chimed in as he walked over. He too was wrapping his sword and hand with cloth as if affirming his resolve. It wasn't just them. Dobiajibiog. All the warriors of the righteous alliance around them were tying their weapons and hands with cloth, strengthening their resolve to resist. Seeing them like this, Ma Qiuqian's eyes reddened. He had decided to stop the monsters, but he didn't think he would influence anyone. But when he realized that his small act of courage had caused ripples in everyone, he couldn't help but feel his heart pounding. I was born for this moment. Now that he had finally awakened to himself, there was no hesitation in Ma Qiuqian's eyes. That gaze was the very embodiment of the upright warrior he had dreamed of being since childhood. Ma Qiuqian raised his sword and shouted, "Let's fight to the end." At his cry, the leader of the beggars' sect, the head of the Wangbo clan, the leader of the Huashan sect, and the surrounding righteous alliance warriors all shouted in unison. "Let's fight to the end." Wah! Their cries echoed through the 10,000 great mountains, which had been engulfed in silence. Seeing them like this, the corners of Li Jiom's mouth, the master of Corpse Blood Valley, turned upwards. That junior warrior had ignited a fire in the righteous sect members in the face of the hell-like despair unfolding before their eyes. Yes. This was the true terror of the righteous sect members he knew. This influence wasn't spreading only to the righteous sect members. Even the former Heaven and Earth Society warriors, who had been shrinking in despair despite having Mok Jiangun as their lord and focal point, shouted that they couldn't lose. "This is our territory. Don't retreat even a single step. Let's fight." Behind them was the castle of Heaven and Earth Society, and all their families were there. If they couldn't defend this place to the end, they would lose everything. That's why they couldn't back down. Damn it. Can we lose to those things? It was the same for the Evil Alliance warriors. Although they had lost their leader, the first Alliance leader Wild Beast Emperor Hang Sim, the Evil Alliance warriors inherently hated losing. And the resolve and solemnity contained in the cries of the former Heaven and Earth Society warriors and Righteous Alliance warriors couldn't help but influence them. So they too shouted no less loudly. Wah wah. The shouts spreading throughout the 10,000 great mountains. This was rapidly refreshing the atmosphere that had been gripped by despair, fear, and terror. Seeing them like this, the man in the bamboo hat watching from afar in the darkness sneered. "You embrace futile hope. Foolish things." The man in the bamboo hat raised his staff inlaid with red jade. Then the red jade emitted a red light and experienced true despair. Go. At the same time as the red light intensified, the three demons' red eyes grew darker, and they simultaneously opened their mouths and let out a roar filled with demonic energy. Kuyo yo yo yo. Ku Kwa Eawang. At that moment, the demonic energies of the roars mixed together at the center where the three demons were standing, creating a whirlwind, and then it rushed towards the 10,000 great mountains as a gale. The tremendous gale rushing in seemed poised to completely destroy the entire 10,000 great mountains. Everyone who had been shouting and strengthening their resolve and fighting spirit just moments ago gritted their teeth in fear at the approaching gale. That's when Mok Jung-un flew his body into the center of the gale and swung the demonic sword Evil Commandment Sword. Yu Yuang. A huge formless sword appeared and collided with the rushing gale. Mok Jung-un tried to cut it down in one go, but the wind pressure that had explosively increased as the demonic energies of the three demons mixed together was truly overwhelming. Quang. Unable to cut through the gale, the formless sword was being pushed back bit by bit, crushing the earth. Everyone watched this scene with bated breath. Yo. Please. If he couldn't block this here, everything would crumble in one go. Kuyo yo yo yo. Ku Kwa Eawang. At that moment, the three demons roared once more in unison. As the gale intensified and grew even larger, the huge formless sword could no longer withstand it and was about to be completely pushed back. At this, Mok Jung-un's gaze sharpened like a sword, and the blade of the demonic sword Evil Commandment Sword was about to turn black. It was at that very moment. Quang. Just then, about 10 whirlwinds of wind pressure rushed in from the western side where the two forces were colliding, and they penetrated between the formless sword that was about to collapse and the gale, pushing it towards the east. Thanks to this, an area of about 200 jang on the ground where the tremendous aftermath was pushed back was instantly devastated. What was that just now? Everyone's gaze turned towards the direction where the whirlwinds had appeared. Those who looked in that direction had their eyes widened. Who are those guys? What's with their bodies, all of them? On the eastern side stood 8 men with enormous muscular builds, their entire bodies blackened and emitting steam. Each of them had an extraordinary appearance. The corners of Mok Jung-un's mouth turned upwards as he spotted someone standing in the center like their leader. It was Yu Mujin of the Yu clan. Quang. Yu Mujin clashed his two fists together and spoke with a voice full of fighting spirit. I'll show you the great price of gathering all the scattered Yu clan members in one place. They were the Yu clan members. The man in the bamboo hat holding the red jade staff was dumbfounded at their appearance. There weren't just 2? He had thought that the 2 guarding the seal were all that remained of the Yu clan. But to think there were 8 more of these monstrous clan members. The man in the bamboo hat clicked his tongue as if he found it absurd, then sneered. It doesn't matter. Nothing changes just because. Kirururi. Just then, a vibration was felt from the northeast direction. It sounded like horse hooves and a shout erupted from one side of the 10,000 great mountains. Wah-wah. Those shouting were none other than the Evil Alliance. That was because a large force of about 10,000 men on horseback was approaching from the northeast, with the Evil Alliance flag fluttering at the front. They were the rear guard led by the Second Alliance Lord Indestructible Golden Body Hei Yokwon. They've come. It was Mok Jung-un who spotted familiar faces riding horses at the front. They were Blood Saint Dam Bekha from Nine Blood Cult and Jin Yurin, the 6 offices commander. Dam Bekha, who was riding her horse alongside Jin Yurin, stuck out her tongue at the sight of the 3 enormous demons and the countless evil spirits. So another great calamity has indeed occurred. She was the last generation of the old Murim who had experienced the first great calamity. That's why this scene wasn't unfamiliar to her. I'm sorry for making you come to this deathly place with me. No, it's rather fortunate. Unlike with young Master Mok, we didn't miss each other this time. She had returned to the Evil Alliance after missing Mok Jung-un while trying to warn him of the crisis on Jin Yurin's orders. Then she had encountered and joined Jin Yurin and the Evil Alliance's rear guard who were heading south. Pachik. Blood Saint Dam Bekha generated lightning in both hands as she spoke. This time we will definitely protect it. She was determined not to let the past repeat itself. The main body of Mok gone, or rather the man in the bamboo hat, sneered as he watched the evil alliance's rear guard rushing in like this. Yes. They're all rushing to their deaths. Nothing will change just because a few more insects have increased. It was at that moment. About 50 jang away from the front of the 10,000 great mountains, smoke rose from various places, then curved round to form gates. And as the space of those gates rippled, numerous diviners appeared from beyond them. Hundreds of diviners were pouring out of each entrance. Their number reached nearly 800. At the forefront stood Yeo Su-rin, a disciple of the harmonious immortal pavilion, holding a golden wheel and a large brush. So many of those diviner bastards were still left? He had thought he'd dealt with all of them that he could see. Humchit. Paong. Just then, bursting through the dark clouds covering the 10,000 great mountains, an enormous evil spirit with the upper body of a horned tiger and the lower body covered in brown scales like a dragon appeared. What is this? The suddenly appearing evil spirit was so bizarre that it startled even those in the 10,000 great mountains. The main body of Mok Gon frowned and spoke at the appearance of this evil spirit. The spirit beast Toi? Having mastered the art of divination and read most existing ancient books, he immediately recognized this bizarrely shaped evil spirit. It was Toi, the spirit beast of Mount Jiao. On Toi's back were two figures dressed as diviners. One of them was the betrayer Grand Divination Master Myong Riol, whom he thought was dead, and the other was Divine Diviner On Gong Yun. Along with Grand Divination Master Myong Riol, it was On Gong Yun, the master of the Song Ancestral Pavilion, one of the 6 divine diviners known to be the only ones to have made spirit beasts their familiars. You dare. He was already aware that Grand Divination Master Myong Riol had betrayed him. But not content with just that, to think he had even drawn in one of the 6 divine diviners. As their allies continued to appear one after another, Mok Gon's lips twitched then. Kuhahaha. He burst into maniacal laughter instead. He thought all of this was rather fortunate. From the beginning, all of these were targets that needed to be dealt with, and even if there were more, nothing would change. Just one of the 6 demons could destroy an entire country. Yet there were 3 of the 6 demons here, and among them was even the Great Strength King, said to be the strongest. The result won't change no matter how many more insects gather. They're just squirming at best. While we're at it in one fell swoop. Humchit. At that moment, the third eye of Mok Gon's main body trembled. What is this? He could sense an ominously vast demonic energy coming from somewhere. And then, as if breaking free from control, the Great Strength King suddenly roared on its own. Quio-yo-yo-yo. It was as if expressing intense anger towards something. Along with the roar, a tremendous gale whirled and rushed towards the 10,000 great mountains. Quack-quack-quack-quack-quack-quack-quack-quack. Although it was a roar containing the demonic energy of just one demon, its power was not much different from when the 3 demons had combined, showing an incredible force. But as the roaring gale rushed forward, it was split by a golden beam of light falling from the sky. Twaia. What on earth is happening? As he wondered, someone appeared in the sky where the golden beam of light had struck. The being was a woman of unparalleled beauty with luscious golden hair and 9 tails fluttering behind her. Seeing this, the main body of Mok Gon muttered in disbelief. The Hundred-Faced King? Chapter 484. The 6 Demons 3. Not just 3 but 4 of the 6 demons? This seems beyond the contract. On Gong Yun, one of the 6 divine diviners and the master of the Song Ancestral Pavilion, expressed his dissatisfaction as he looked at the back of the woman with 9 golden tails swaying gently. At his words, Grand Divination Master Myong Riol, another of the 6 divine diviners beside him, was equally bewildered. The Hundred-Faced King? What on earth is going on? The Hundred-Faced King, Golden Nine-Tailed Fox. Among the 6 demons, it is the oldest and in some sense considered even worse than the Great Strength King, known to be the strongest in power. That being is the embodiment of ominousness and malice itself, leading everything to destruction. Good. Grand Divination Master Myong Riol broke out in a cold sweat. Due to Chong Ryong's anger, he had met his death with his jaw torn off and both arms severed. However, thanks to the soul transfer technique that activated by chance, his soul was able to move to a body he had prepared in advance, allowing him to cling to life. It worked. The soul transfer technique was close to incomplete, so the risk was great. Since the technique only activates when the user dies, who would rashly choose death. But the technique succeeded. At first he was going to go into hiding. After all, if everyone thought he was dead, there was no need to show himself. But then a problem arose. He thought he had completely lifted Mok Gon's prohibition, but that prohibition had affected even his soul. As a result, even though he had performed the soul transfer technique, he could not see. Was it because of that bastard? When the reason for his blindness became clear, he felt despair and great anger. He had thought that if he ever succeeded with the soul transfer technique, he would be able to see again and completely break free from that bastard, but all of that had been thwarted. If I don't kill that bastard, I'll never be able to break free from this shackle. That's why he had come to the 10,000 Great Mountains, which would be the starting point and final battleground of the Great Calamity. However, the Great Calamity exceeded all the categories he had anticipated. 4 of the 6 demons, each said to be capable of destroying a country on their own, had gathered in this place. This was tantamount to entering the epicenter of a natural disaster that could wipe out not just one country, but the entire Central Plains continent. Forget the contract, 4 of the 6 demons have gathered. Do you see any escape hole, Masterin? Looks like we'll pay a heavy price for just one technique. With those words, Divine Diviner On Gong Yun began to form hand seals with his right hand while pulling out talismans with his left. At least that one seems the most manageable. On Gong Yun's gaze turned towards the lion-grasping king with golden mane, the smallest in stature among the 6 demons. Quio-yo-yo-yo. As if enraged by the power of the 100-faced king Golden Nine-Tailed Fox, who had instantly nullified the gale of his roar, the great strength King Ox Demon King let out an angry roar. At the thunderous roar that shook heaven and earth, the Golden Nine-Tailed Fox sneered. Still the same. So noisy. With that, the Golden Nine-Tailed Fox slowly flew to Mok Jiangun's side, her 9 tails swaying gently. Looking at Mok Jiangun, the Golden Nine-Tailed Fox was inwardly amazed. She had been in the Imperial Palace, but through the fluctuations of demonic energy in the energy of heaven and earth, she could sense the awakening of the 6 demons. Thus, she predicted that the continent would soon be dyed in blood. I came wondering what great mischief they would cause with 3 of the 6 demons gathered in one place, but you were here. She had made an accessory imbued with her demonic energy and given it to Mok Jiangun. Thanks to that, she could always know his location no matter where he was. But she was surprised. When they met at the Imperial Palace in Kaifeng, Mok Jiangun's power was merely interesting. He was quite strong but still no more than human. Yet in just a few months he had completely changed. What happened to you in the meantime? The Golden Nine-Tailed Fox asked as she approached Mok Jiangun's side with a broad smile. At her question, Mok Jiangun opened his mouth while staring ahead without looking at her. What are you here for? When she first appeared, Mok Jiangun had held some hope. However, after seeing her block the Ox Demon King's roar, he could be certain she was not related to Mok Gon. To Mok Jiangun's question, the Golden Nine-Tailed Fox licked her upper lip with her tongue and answered. Do you know what's the most interesting thing in the world? Watching fires and fights. And nothing is as intriguing as a world turned into a sea of blood and pandemonium. What a pointless reason. If that's the case, step back. Your aura has changed a bit. Not just his power, but something was different from before. Even then, she had been interested in his ferocity hidden within, despite being suppressed by overwhelming power and refusing to submit. But now she couldn't sense that incompleteness or ferocity from back then. Rather, he seemed relaxed yet flawless. Interesting. She knew that humans' potential to accept all energies was beyond that of evil spirits. However, there's a limit to one's innate capacity, so the end of growth is predetermined. That's why she thought no human would ever reach the stronghold of evil spirits. But seems the prophecy wasn't wrong. Or was my eye accurate? Just leave. I don't have time to idly. Before Mok Jiangun could finish speaking, she clung to his arm and rubbed her cheek against it, saying, That's too disappointing, heavenly demon. I came out because I was worried you might be in danger. Danger? Yes. No matter how much stronger you've become, that one's a bit out of spec, you know. The Golden Nine-Tailed Fox's gaze turned towards the great strength King Ox Demon King, who stood like a great demon from hell, glaring at them with red eyes. She didn't acknowledge all of the 6 demons equally. Long ago there were only 3 monsters that could contend with the ancient sages. One of them disappeared from this world, transcending the natural order, but the only monster that could truly rival her was that ox demon king. The golden nine-tailed fox touched the tip of her finger to Mok Jaeungun's cheek and whispered, "This body will somehow block that for the man who will become my husband. In exchange, if you survive here, let's continue that hot night from before. I told you I'm not interested. But I'm very interested. In your body and in that rapidly increasing power of yours." The golden nine-tailed fox's golden eyes were rippling with competitive spirit. Mok Jaeungun realized that she wasn't simply teasing him. She wanted to confirm his power. Quioyoyoyo. Just then the great strength King Ox Demon King let out a roar and then took a step forward. Quang. Wururk. The earth split and flames erupted. Seeing this, the corners of the golden nine-tailed fox's mouth turned up coldly. "Looks like you're very angry. But what to do? I don't like it when someone eyes what's mine, great strength king. Go." No sooner had those words ended than her body rose into the air and began to emit a dazzling golden light. The golden light gradually grew larger, taking on the shape of a beast. It was a golden fox with 9 tails. As the true form of the 100-faced king golden nine-tailed fox was revealed, an ominously chilling demonic energy spread in all directions, causing the diviners to be unable to hide their bewilderment. The golden nine-tailed fox? How on earth? Senior, calm down. The golden nine-tailed fox was just talking with Lord Mok. I don't know why, but it seems to be on our side in this situation. At Yeo Surin's words, her senior turned pale. Talk sense. It's a great demon that has destroyed countless countries since ancient times among the 6 demons. How could it possibly be for humans? Quang, quang, quang. Before those words could finish, the now enormous golden nine-tailed fox charged forward and collided head-on with the great strength king, who was even larger than a mountain peak. Quang! The impact sent tremendous wind pressure in all directions. That wasn't the end of it. The golden nine-tailed fox's 9 tails moved to bind the ox demon king's arms and legs, trying to push him back. However, Quioyoyo, the ox demon king was the 6th demon known as the strongest in terms of pure strength. Despite having both arms and legs bound as if finding it laughable, his entire body's muscles bulged, and he tried to forcibly tear off the 9 tails. Pididididujiak. But as if predicting this, hook, the golden nine-tailed fox stood upright, grabbed the ox demon king's jaw and upper lip, forcibly prying them open, and then, Tuawea. She blasted a golden beam filled with tremendous demonic energy into his mouth. As the beam penetrated his body as if taking damage, Kiokiokikiak. Quaquaquaquaquaquaquaquang. The earth shook, huge debris and dust shot upwards, and the ox demon king's body was pushed back. The diviner's eyes widened at this sight. Is it really true that this 100-faced king golden nine-tailed fox is on their side? Yeo Surin's senior swallowed hard. These 6 demons are close to natural disasters, capable of shattering and transforming the earth just by colliding. But if one of them was their ally, the situation might not be so bad. Then let's do it too. Your role is important. Of course. That's why I brought this, even risking expulsion. Yeo Surin held up the golden wheel she was holding. It was the 1,000 Transformations golden wheel, the great divine tool of divine diviner Red Eyebrow Old Immortal, the master of the harmonious immortal pavilion. Though now called a great divine tool, the diviners of the harmonious immortal pavilion knew that it was once called a divine artifact or treasure during the time of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors in ancient times. Begin. Yes. Yeo Surin looked at the other 2 6 demons, the lion-grasping king and the white great ping demon king, then focused on the white great ping demon king. It was the monstrous perpetrator of the tragedy that had massacred all the monks of Great Yen Temple, including Master Gakwan, one of the 6 divine diviners and an old friend of her master. She inserted the large brush she was holding between the 1,000 Transformations golden wheel and began to rotate it. Twerurururu. At first, it rotated by her strength, but soon it began to spin rapidly on its own. As she chanted the spell, the fiercely rotating golden wheel suddenly began to grow larger. As the golden wheel expanded, the white great ping demon king, seemingly having noticed it, spread its 2 wings wide and began to flap them. Swa Ewa. A blizzard of frost whirled up, creating a gale. As if that wasn't enough. Iduk, iduk, kiok, kyuk. Weaker diviners, as if caught by the white great pink demon king's demonic energy, had their blood vessels bulge all over their bodies before their heads exploded one after another. Quadic. It's using demonic energy to perform the text transfer technique. Use the heavenly horse borrowing power technique. At the senior's shout, the diviners formed hand seals. Light flowed from their bodies, making them shimmer all over. Along with this, something seemed to collide with the light, creating crackling blue sparks. Though they had blocked the rampage caused by demonic energy this way, the icy gale blown by the white great pink demon king was too powerful for them to withstand. When something appeared, creating tremendous gusts of wind that blocked the icy gale. Huh. Who are you? We don't know what you're trying to do, but you're diviners, right? Our clan will protect you. They were the members of the Yu clan, including Yu Mujin. The Yu clan members' skin was black, with their muscles bulged to the maximum, and steam was emitting from their entire bodies. The diviners couldn't help but admire their incredible innate strength, which wasn't even martial arts. "Tao's our chance." Surin. Chuk. At her senior's shout, Yeo Surin put her hands together to form the inner lion seal. Then she hurled the fiercely rotating, now enormous golden wheel towards the white great pink demon king. Pong. Sensing the massive immortal energy contained in the approaching golden wheel, the white great pink demon king flapped its wings, trying to fly upwards. Purik. But at that moment the golden wheel split into 108 pieces. Then these 108 wheels, like valiant warriors forming a battle formation, tried to trap the white great pink demon king. However, the white great pink demon king instantly emitted tremendous cold energy, freezing the wheels. At that moment, all the diviners formed hand seals simultaneously. Byong. 2. Yul. Jin. It was the hand seal of the 9 characters living law. The nearly 800 of them performed a spell. It was the 4 peaks linking chain technique. Pia. Thousands of pillars struck down on top of the white great pink demon king's head. Kung. As the pillars struck down, the white great pink demon king tried to destroy them all with force by flapping its small wings. At that moment, Yeo Surin Sr. grasped the ornate divine tools on both arms and chanted a spell. Good. Then, breaking through the dark clouds, a massive heavenly king gate with a large demon face attached fell from the sky, pressing down on the wing-flapping white great pink demon king. Kwaong. Chachachachachachachang. Simultaneously, the 108 frozen wheels came back to life, emitting intense light. The revived 108 wheels once again formed a formation, completely blocking the area around the white great pink demon king. The white great pink demon king, pressed down by the heavenly king gate, raised its head and opened its mouth to spew forth icy demonic energy. Twaia. It shot out from another wheel, striking the white great pink demon king's back. Quioyoyo. Enraged at being hit by its own attack, the white great pink demon king emitted tremendous demonic energy, causing the wheels surrounding it to shake and start to be pushed back. Not enough power. Yeo Surin was chanting spells non-stop, but blood began to flow from her eyes and nose. At that moment, Yu Mujin and the Yu clan members, who had somehow flown above the white great pink demon king, interlocked their hands and spun their bodies, diving towards the white great pink demon king's head. Quack-quack-quack-quang. Thanks to this, the white great pink demon king's head was forced down, slamming into the ground. While they were fighting hard like this, the remaining 6 demon, the lion-grasping king, was also facing off against the 2 divine diviners who controlled spirit beasts and over 10,000 experts from the evil alliance. Yuraquang. A woman rose into the sky and raised her sword upwards. Thunder and lightning struck from the cloud-covered sky, enveloping her entire body in electric currents. Pachichichichik. She was Jin Yurin, the descendant of the world's greatest sword. Chapter 485. The 6 Demons 5. The signal to begin the battle against the lion-grasping king, one of the remaining 6 demons, was given by Grand Divination Master Myongryul and Divine Diviner On Gongyun, the master of the Song Ancestral Pavilion. As the evil spirit with the upper body of a horned tiger and the lower body covered in brown dragon scales hurled a sphere of purple poisonous mist, the lion-grasping king dodged it with agile movements that didn't match its huge body. Pong. Quatatata. Not content with just that, the lion-grasping king charged quickly towards them, moving back and forth in a shaped pattern. It's coming. I know. Facing the approaching lion-grasping king, the two divine diviners, Grand Divination Master Myongryul and On Gong Yun, put their hands together to form the Vaisravana seal and simultaneously chanted a spell. The Heavenly Horse Borrowing Power Technique. The Art of Earth Collapse Containment Realm. 1. Kwa 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 kwang. The moment the vast spiritual power of the two divine diviner-level practitioners, known as the pinnacle of current diviners, interlocked to create a spell formation, the ground around the lion-grasping king instantly collapsed with an explosion. It wasn't just a technique to make the ground collapse and sink. Kurr. Stone hands emerged from the collapsing ground, trying to grab the lion-grasping king's hind legs and tail to pull it down. Kwang. In response, orbs of demonic energy poured out of the lion-grasping king's mouth in rapid succession, instantly destroying the stone hands. Quack-quack-quack-quack. With the grabbing hands gone, the lion-grasping king leaped up at an incredible speed, riding the continuously collapsing debris. Damn it! It's not working at all. As the two divine diviners clicked their tongues in frustration and prepared their next technique, it was at that moment. Pat. Two experts at the transformation realm level suddenly sprang up like lightning in front of the lion-grasping king, which had finally surged upwards from the collapsing ground. Kuhi. You monster. I'll show you the power of the blood progression golden body. 2. There was a large man with his entire body glowing red, displaying the blood progression golden body technique. It was Hei Yokwon, the Second Alliance Lord of the Evil Alliance. Pachichichi. And beside him, unleashing the ultimate technique of the blood jade hand imbued with red lightning, was Dam Bekha, the blood saint of Nine Blood cult. Red blood golden body undefeated fist. Blood jade hand thunder sky breaking strength. The ultimate techniques of the two, going all out from the start, perfectly struck the forehead of the lion-grasping king as it surged upwards. Papapapapak. However, the title of Six Demons wasn't given to these evil spirits for nothing. The lion-grasping king, not minding this at all, slightly pulled its head back and then knocked the two transformation realm experts away just by flicking its head forward. Pang. Kiok. A.K. Second Alliance Lord. Blood Saint Dam. The flying experts were caught by Yu Jiayong, the Fifth Alliance Lord Azura Slaughter Blade of the Evil Alliance, and Bu Pyon Suk, the Eighth Alliance Lord Interweaving Fist. Heek. Pong. It seemed like a light flick, but the lion-grasping king's demonic energy was so strong that even those who caught the two experts couldn't withstand the force and were sent flying as well. Degrudak. 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 Meanwhile, about 1,000 mounted archers from the Evil Alliance's rear guard aimed their bows at the lion-grasping king while riding their horses. Fire. Kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-sha. The lion-grasping king sneered at the rain of arrows imbued with inner energy and struck the ground with its hand. Kwang. Pachachakachachakang. With a strong gust of wind, the arrows were deflected. This is crazy. Nothing's working at all. The surprised mounted units hurriedly pulled their horses' reins, trying to change direction and create distance. However, the lion-grasping king wasn't about to let them go. The lion-grasping king's golden mane suddenly swelled up, and the hairs of its mane extended towards the fleeing mounted units and the Evil Alliance warriors trying to surround it. Kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-kwa-sha. From afar they might have looked like just stiffened hair, but their size was no different from spears. As thousands of golden spears flew at an incredible speed, the 1,000 mounted archers had no time to dodge and were swept away in an instant. Where the lion-grasping king's hair spears passed, only blood and chunks of flesh remained. No. Pat. Hei Yokwon, the Second Alliance Lord who had barely stopped, hurriedly flew his body to try and block this. However, no matter how much of an expert he was at the transformation realm, it was impossible for him to cross the space and block it. But at the perfect moment, a huge, faintly glowing opaque semicircular wall appeared in the sky above the warriors, blocking the hair spears that were flying like a torrential rain. The two divine diviners were performing the guardian barrier technique atop the spirit beast toy in the sky. It was a scale unimaginable for ordinary diviners, but possible because the two divine diviners had come together. However, as if waiting for this moment, The lion-grasping king, with its hind leg muscles bulging immensely, leaped up, trying to tear apart the spirit beast toy along with them in one go with its front paws. Damn it! It was at that very moment. Yuruquaquaquing. Was it a stroke of heavenly luck? Lightning struck from the sky, and coincidentally the lion-grasping king was hit and fell. Pachichichichik. Quioyoyo. The lion-grasping king, which hadn't been affected at all by Dam Bekha's lightning, let out a roar of pain, as if the power of the naturally striking lightning was tremendous. Then the lion-grasping king glared upwards with eyes full of anger. Yuruquanquanquang. As a woman rose into the sky and raised her sword upwards, thunder and lightning struck from the cloud-covered sky, enveloping her entire body in electric currents. Pachichichichik. She was Jin Yurin, the descendant of the world's greatest sword. As Jin Yurin, her entire body dyed in lightning, swung her sword towards the lion-grasping king. Lightning energy arose from the dark clouds and bolts struck down repeatedly. Quaquaquaquang. In response, the lion-grasping king hurriedly leaped to dodge the thunderbolts. As it seemed for the first time that an attack was effective, the evil alliance warriors shouted in excitement. That monster is dodging. Wah wah. This is the power of heavenly concealed. Jin Yurin's eyes burned with fighting spirit as she unleashed the tremendous power of lightning. On the way here, she had occasionally opened the secret manual of the heavenly concealed life-death sword technique to learn the arrangements left by her ancestor. But when she opened the secret manual, she couldn't hide her bewilderment. She had naturally predicted that the heavenly concealed life-death sword technique would be a more refined version of the original life-death sword technique. But it wasn't. The contents written in the secret manual described a realm of training that seemed impossible for humans to master. How am I supposed to learn this? Moreover, since the secret manual contained not a few passages related to the immortal way, it was extremely abstruse. No matter how intelligent and naturally talented she was, she couldn't understand it at all. However, unable to give up, she kept repeatedly reading the sentences of the secret manual in her mind, trying somehow to master this secret text. Swaraya. At that moment, her vision brightened and she fell into an imaginary world. There she met her ancestor Jin Wunwei for the first time. If it had been before, she would have resented her ancestor Jin Wunwei, but having learned the truth through the iron cultivation of the evil heart destruction sect, she shed tears endlessly rather than feeling resentment. Her ancestor Jin Wunwei silently embraced and comforted her. After her sorrow had subsided somewhat as she had met the ancestor of her clan, that is, the elder of her family, they had many conversations. For the first time since her father's passing, she was able to unburden her heart with the mind of a young child. And after finishing their conversation, she formally asked her ancestor Jin Wunwei, "Ancestor, please open the way for me." With her talent alone, there was no way she could master the secret text. However, here she heard shocking words. "You cannot learn the heavenly concealed." Quaquaquaquaquaquing. Recalling the memory from that imaginary scene, Jin Yurin swung her sword repeatedly towards the lion-grasping king, which was dodging the falling thunderbolts. Jin Wunwei told her, "Regardless of talent, learning the heavenly concealed requires a very long time, and it involves enduring the pain of receiving thousands of lightning strikes on your body." The heavenly concealed was never a power she could master in the first place. Then why on earth did he leave this arrangement? If it's something that can't be learned, isn't it meaningless? But then her ancestor Jin Wunwei said to her, "It will be difficult for a long time, but the secret text I left will serve as a medium connecting you and me in the fuse." A medium? I will perform the energy circulation of the heavenly concealed through the medium on your behalf. I will transmit to you the usage method of the techniques, so you should be able to use the heavenly concealed for at least half a quarter hour, if not longer. That was how she became able to use the heavenly concealed. Jin Wunwei regretted that he couldn't help more than this because the heavenly concealed was a secret technique of the ancient immortals and shouldn't remain in the world. Understanding her ancestor's deep consideration, she was rather grateful to him. Although it was only for a short time, she had gained the power to face the 6 demons, which were called natural disasters. Quang, 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 quang. Once again, the lion-grasping king, dodging the falling lightning with its unique movements, charged towards Jin Yurin at an incredible speed. Its speed was so fast that it was even evading the falling lightning. Pachik, pachik. Blood flowed from Jin Yurin's eyes. although the secret text in her bosom was acting as a medium and performing the energy circulation on her behalf. Handling the lightning of the heavenly concealed, which she hadn't fully mastered, was painful as the power kept backflowing. This was a side effect that even her ancestor Jin Wunwei hadn't predicted. However, she endured this with extreme patience, trying somehow to properly handle the power of the heavenly concealed. Patrick. Hawk. But due to the pain, she was finally thrown back by the backflowing lightning energy while using the heavenly concealed and fell towards the ground. The lion-grasping king didn't miss this moment. Quang. The lion-grasping king charged towards her as she fell. At that moment, thick tree trunks shot up from the ground like whips, wrapping around the lion-grasping king's 2 legs and body. It was a technique by Grand Divination Master Myongryul and Divine Diviner On Gongyun. Pirudugdujik. What? However, as it was a hastily performed technique, the lion-grasping king broke the tree trunks off at the roots and tried to swallow the falling Jin Yurin. Nu. Young lady. He Yokwon, the Second Alliance Lord, and Dam Bekha, the Blood Saint, flew their bodies, but it was already too late. Just as her body was about to enter the lion-grasping king's widely opened mouth. At that moment, a huge silver full moon shone in everyone's eyes. Quioyoyo. Simultaneously, the lion-grasping king's nose bridge was cut off, and someone caught the falling Jin Yurin, flew backwards and landed on the ground. Seeing this scene, Dam Bekha, the Blood Saint, exclaimed with reddened eyes. The moonless void sword. That sword's strike, reminiscent of a full moon, creating a formless blade, was undoubtedly his sword. Pachik. Jin Yurin, who had overcome the backflowing lightning energy, barely regained consciousness and her eyes trembled. Although his hair had turned white and his face was full of wrinkles, an old man with intense eyes and the dignity of a scholar was smiling kindly at her. I finally found you. Jin Yurin hugged the old man tightly and cried out. Elder Chuck. The old man patted her back as if treating a grandchild. Seeing their appearance, He Yokwon, the Second Alliance Lord of the Evil Alliance, asked Dam Bekha, the Blood Saint, with a face unable to hide his shock. Was he really alive all this time? Didn't I tell you? I am nothing compared to the elder. The reason He Yokwon was so surprised was simple. The old man holding Jin Yurin. The identity of the old man was Sima Chuk, the Moon Evil Sword, one of the legends of the Old Murim.